You might not think of tipping as a legacy of slavery, but it is. And it has a far more racialized history than most people know about. We all do it. We all practice tipping. Sometimes to the point where if you don't tip somebody who serves you at a bar or at a restaurant, it seems like you're cheap. Now, the funny thing is, how I got introduced to this tipping business was when I come to the United States for the very first time. This is how I got introduced to tipping. I mean, I heard the word before, but back where I'm from, we don't really did practice that back in the days because people never have money. And I think, why do I need to tip somebody for a service that they already been paid to do? So I say, that don't make no sense. Why me need to give you money on top of what you already getting paid to do? That's how I usually think. But anyway, remember when I come to the States, back in the days when me in college, and we had do the back and forth, work and travel program. And I meet a little white chick. She was into me and all of that, And she said she want to take me out for dinner. She take me out to this nice, posh-looking restaurant, sitting decent enough. You know what I say, Zane, we order the food and me deal with the menu away still because she take me out. You see me? And then at the end of it, me I'll dash into dessert, and mash up that one. You see me? Deal with it away. Then when we're done, me see like she a shuffle around. You see me? I say, wonder why she a shuffle around. But it seems like she want me to pay or help pay the bill. So I say, but in my mindset, I say, as she carry me out still, so I hold my ground, So I stood firm and just hold it. Anyway, she paid the bill. We not to hang around for too long to make the food settle because she kind of mad, say, me never pay the bill. But before we leave, she says, are you going to leave a tip? So this was when I say, wait, what? She say, yeah, are you going to leave a tip? Me I say, all right, I don't want to look so bad. So I say, all right, boom, I'm dipping in my wallet. When I dip in my wallet and look, I say, I only have $3. So I say, John Star. I say, so bam and squeeze out two and push back one and put on the $2. $1 I go put on but I say, you know what? I'm going with the $2. So we put on the $2 on the table. We see the look on her face kind of look irritable still, but I say, John. Anyway, we leave. Couple days run off. Me hear my name and spread in the park where we are work. My friend them come to me and I laugh after me and I say, John Star, brother. The white girl carry you out and you couldn't even pay for it. And I say, brother, why me need to pay when she say she carry me out? And then she say, you not even left a tip. You look a worthless boy, I say, man, them say, you not to leave a tip, brother. I say, John Star. I say, she deal with me. That is how really still me get introduced to this tipping thing. Zane? But where did this tipping business started from? We could dive into the dark origin of how this tipping thing come about. As far as the word TIP, what does it mean? How many of us know what TIP means? So if you don't know, TIP means to ensure promptness. My question is, if it means to ensure promptness, why do I need to pay the tip at the end of the service and not before the service? Because if me want to ensure your promptness, therefore me I go give the tip before so you serve me well and do what you need to do. But that's not the case. We give the tip at the end of the service. We're going to look on it deep and see where this tipping business is coming from and how it all started. Tipping began in the Middle Ages in Europe around the 1850s and the 1860s when people lived under the feudal system. Now, I'm not going to go into the feudal system. You can do a little research on that and then come back to this. But during this time, there were masters and servants, and there were tips. Now, servant would perform their duties and given some pocket change, which is tip, in other words, for the job or the duties that they perform. Now, how it becomes so popular? Some said that the European travelers brought the custom to the US, and others said it was wealthy Americans who brought the custom back from Europe, eager to seem sophisticated and high class. They started tipping. This practice, it actually took off in the post-Civil War era. After the Constitution was amended in the wake of the Civil War in the States, slavery was ended as an institution, but those who were freed from bondage were still limited in their choices of job. Many worked in minimal positions such as servants, waiters, barbers, and railroad porters. These were pretty much the only occupations that were available when slavery was ended. Remember, them can't read, them can't write, them don't know nothing. So these were the only jobs available that they could get. For the restaurant workers and the railroad porters, there was a catch. Many employers would not actually pay these workers under the condition that white folks would offer a small tip instead. But this is the part that I want you to listen to carefully. When you give somebody a tip, you establish a class system. I bet most of you never know that. By tipping somebody, you rendered him your inferior, your moral inferior, your class inferior, your social and economic inferior. No, me not tell you no say you go out there and go to a restaurant and don't tip, none at all, but me just show you what or where it was coming from. But then, when you actually tip somebody, you consider that person to be less than you. Who knows about the Pullman car company? Now, the tipping thing, as me say, it spread right across the globe. Not every country practice it, but most people know about this tipping business. Now, how it started spread in the United States when the practice was brought back here, Pullman Car Company was one such instrumental part that helped it to spread. If you don't know about the Pullman Car Company, listen. The Pullman Car Company was started by George Pullman. He was an engineer in Chicago, and he saw that trains were very uncomfortable. So he designed this nice posh carriage, like a business class. One of the big perks was to have porter there to assist you with your baggage, to smile, to make your bed, to amuse your kids, and to answer the bell. You know them little bell thing, the way you go ting-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling when you ring. That was the job of the porter. Now, who did George Pullman hired for these jobs? The black men. Only black men would do these types of jobs. When the growing American middle class sees this, because they were unable to afford it at them house, them start travel. Now, these were luxury. Another fact is that George Pullman would hire white men to be conductors. No black man could be conductors. The black man place was to be a porter. Middle class, or the people who were traveling and moving from state to state, spreading this type of practice of tipping, giving the black men a small change because they weren't being paid. As a matter of fact, the tip was what would pay them when you do all the job criterias that were required of you. But this was how the practice spread across the United States. And I'm assuming now people who started traveling back and forth, leaving the States, coming to the States, bring these practices different parts of the world. And this is how it becomes the norm today. Tipping a person after they served you. It is a legacy of slavery and racism. For the people who didn't know, now you know.